there's two approaches. If you're a traditional Catholic, sometimes I'm after Mass and we're talking, people come up and ask questions and we get into conversations. And one of the conversations that I've been in a number of times is, what do we do about Vatican II? Marshall, what get rid of it? Remove some documents? So here are two theories on it. If you think there's problems in Vatican II, and I do think there's problems in Vatican II. The first is line item veto. We have this in the United States of America. The president can line item veto. So a bill comes up and the bill's good, but there's just one sentence or paragraph or section that's not good. He can just red pen through it and veto that section. So one approach to Vatican II would be, okay, well, what it says here about the Blessed Virgin Mary, that's wholesome. I like that. But, the section in Nostra Aetate where it says that Buddhists can attain perfect detachment in this life, that's clearly false. So we need to go ahead and take that paragraph about Buddhists out of the Vatican II and just condemn it. Okay, so I'm calling this line item veto approach to Vatican II. And this is close to what Schneider, I think, is recommending, or at least what Viganò is representing, what Schneider's saying. Look, we can accept the Vatican Council, but we're just going to have to go through and carefully, a pope's going to have to go through and remove and condemn anything that is either wrong or ambiguous in a way that would lead people into error. Now, Viganò is going one step further. He's saying, look, there's a legal way of doing it, that we got the line item veto. But from a pastoral point of view, it's best just to drop it into the circular filing cabinet. Trash it. He says, dropped and forgotten. Let the whole thing drop and be forgotten. It's pretty hardcore, Archbishop Viganò. Most people I know have never taken such a hard stance. Most people say, well, we can, even people who followed Lefebvre would say, hey, there's some good things that are said in the Second Vatican Council, but then there are a lot of bad things. So we have to kind of sift through it and find what's good and what's bad. Viganò is just like, let the whole thing be forgotten. Drop it. Now he goes on to say, and it is true, as Professor Pasqualucci, Italian people, did I get that right, affirms that the error is not doctrine. It is equally true that a condemnation of heterodox propositions would not remove the shadows that surround the whole undertaking of the council as a complex whole, and which prejudice the entire corpus of its documents, nor would it remove the consequences that have derived from the council. It should also be remembered that the event of the council far surpasses the documents which it produced, end quote. Archbishop Viganò, to me, that is one of the most profound things that you've written in your letters. My brothers and sisters, consider this. How many of you have read one document of the Second Vatican Council? Raise your hand. Maybe you can leave a comment over there. How many of you have actually read one document of the Second Vatican Council? I'm going to guess it's a minority, 49% or less, and I bet it's even smaller than that. Most people don't read church documents. They're academics, people whose job it is that we sit down with books like this, Denzinger, and we read through the Latin texts of councils and church documents. Most people don't. And yet, almost all Catholics in the United States of America, they know about Vatican II, and they know that Vatican II justifies all kinds of things. It is used as a trump card on a daily basis. So if you say, hey, Father, could we do in our Novus Ordo liturgy, could we do the Agnus Dei in Latin to kind of do a traditional thing during Lent? The Father would say, I don't know. It's kind of against Vatican II. Probably shouldn't do that. Okay, Father. Hey, Father, I don't really feel comfortable with the altar girls. Can we just have all altar boys? Well, Vatican II. What about Eucharistic ministers, Father? Monsignor, I notice that on daily Mass, where there's only 40 people present, you have 15 Eucharistic ministers handing out communion with 40 people in the pews. Do we really need that? I mean, couldn't you, as the priest on the daily Mass, just handle administering Holy Communion since you're a priest and have anointed hands? Monsignor says. Monsignor Bob says, well, Vatican II said we need active participation of the laity. So I just think it's really important that a lot of people are able to hand out communion. It's a sign to the community. You see what I'm saying? Nobody's read these documents, but Vatican II is constantly used as a trump card to defy tradition and redefine tradition. And this, I think, is what Viganò is locked on in this bottom part of this paragraph. To me, it's the most precious part of his letter, because he's talking about the council as an event. It's like a really smart way of referring to the spirit of Vatican II, but he's saying, look, it's not something, ambiguous. We all know what Vatican II means. And Vatican II means I want to do whatever the heck I want to do in the church. And if I'm questioned on it, I'm just going to say, yeah, but Vatican II. You've heard of the race card? Well, this is the Vatican II card. And the hierarchy constantly pulls it on us. So what Viganò is saying is, yeah, it's not enough just to go after the text. We have to realize that the council that culminated in 1965 was a complete revolution in the way we think about liturgy, morality, Catholicism, other religions, evangelizations, etc. Does that make sense? Viganò goes on. The mere fact that Vatican II is susceptible to correction ought to be sufficient to declare its oblivion as soon as its most obvious errors are seen with clarity. Not by chance does Professor Pasqualucci, did I get that right, Italians? Call it a conciliabolo, the devilish council, like the Synod of Pistoia, which I'm going to talk about, which merited the condemnation of the entire Synod beyond the mere condemnation of the individual errors that it taught. I make this my own statement, quote, after having clearly highlighted the procedural subterfuges and the errors against the faith scattered throughout the documents, a pope could very well finally quash the entire council, thereby confirming his brethren in the faith. This would fall perfectly within his summa potestas jurisdictionis over the entire church, jure divino, by divine law. The council is not superior to the pope. If the council has deviated from the faith, the pope has the power to invalidate it. Indeed, it is his duty, end quote. Boom, drop the mic, Archbishop Viganò. That's his statement. Councils are not over popes. If the laity, if the church is confused and led into error by the council, it's not only not only has the ability, he has the duty to quash the council. Every discussion, this is Viganò, every discussion amidst legitimate differences of opinion must not have as its goal any compromise with a distortion to the truth, but rather that truth will fully triumph. Virtue is the right mean between two vices, like a peak between two valleys. This ought to be our goal. It seems to me that from this fruitful exchange with my brother, Bishop Athanasius, he's talking about Athanasius Schneider, what emerges is how much both of us have solely at heart the reestablishment of the Catholic faith as the essential foundation for union in charity. There is no conflict, no opposition. Our zeal springs from and grows in the Eucharistic heart of our Lord and returns to it so as to be consumed in love for him. I'm going to pause here. Archbishop Viganò loves souls. It's in all of his letters. But here we just see a little window into his soul where he's talking about desiring the union and charity. People say, oh, Viganò, he just wants to divide people. He's a grumpy old man. He's mad he didn't become a cardinal. He's mad he got transferred. No, listen. He wants union in charity, not union in lies, not union in falsehood. He said, there is no conflict. Our zeal, listen how beautiful this is. Our zeal springs from and grows in the Eucharistic heart of our Lord and returns to it so as to be consumed in love for him. This is an archbishop consumed in love for Jesus Christ. Thanks be to God.